fall back on something they talked about in regards to the juvenile facility.
Yes,
I know you're sitting on a committee right now that was studying a lot of that and how to move it forward and what.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I don't know, sorry, go ahead. What's your
How can
question?
you take what those reforms are that you guys are working on to kind of go where they need to go and maybe work together with them?
Sure. You guys, when everything sort of blew up last year and all the changes went through with leadership, a new board was formed to tackle the juvenile service center and to really sort of figure out a future for it. There was a lot of work to do. We did a CTAS study that had 95 different recommendations. I'm proud to say that I think 75 of the 95 are now completed and the facility's been cleaned and upgraded a little bit on the inside. We still have a lot of capital needs. I serve as the chair of that board, which is sort of a temporary transition board. And for 8 months, we have worked diligently every single month to find a new path forward and to address a lot of the issues and to deal with staffing issues and financial issues and logistical and security and all those things. It's going very well. After lots of discussion and months of research and talking to other judges around the state, the board decided that the best path forward was actually to be under the juvenile court judge, which was closest to the mission, and not under the sheriff. And so we voted on that last month, and it will be on commission's agenda this month and next month on 2 readings to transition the entire center under the juvenile court judge oversight and administration and their team with help from Knox County. And that's the key, because it was its own fiefdom in its little bubble before, that it did everything on its own in a silo. And now Knox County Finance, the IT department, the HR department, the mayor's office, the commission, we're all invested in it long term. And so it's going to be transitioned with commission approves it over 2 readings, starting on April 1st. And then starting in July, a new board will be formed that will provide advisory oversight, which will have a commissioner, a permanent commissioner seat, 2 appointments from the mayor, so you'll have outside people. And then we've designed the board to have people that would work with the judge that have expertise in juvenile social services, juvenile legal work, and juvenile mental health. And so we've reformed that. We're on the cusp of getting licensed for the first time in 3 years, which is a great thing with the state. And then we have asked the governor for some capital budget expenditures to help with the security system and the doors and some of the extra security enhancements that need to happen. We're on a really good path. I would say within the next 2 to 4 months, it will be stable and on a great path. And then the next 2 to 4 years, when those capital needs get addressed, we'll have a great facility. It is too big. It was built like a massive Taj Mahal. I have no idea why it was built that big. We have, anywhere between 15 and 30 in given days. Most of those are Knox County kids. Some of those are from other counties, and some are DCS holds. We're also looking at a model where there's an entire pod there that's not being used at all. And part of our team went down to Memphis to look at a model where DCS actually has a model that they do in Memphis, and I think one in Nashville, where it's sort of a rehabilitation place for kids before they committed crimes. It's more they're not part of the legal system yet, and yeah, it's kind of, and so they're looking at different models of maybe you can take a whole section of that and make it more rehabilitation. The goal of that is to make sure those children, which is what they are, don't end up in the law system and the jail system for the rest of their lives. So if we can make it a place of rehabilitation and focus, everyone's leaning in. I can tell you that we get calls daily, how can I help? I think we're on a good path there. So it's just taking a lot of work.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Go back to the question that I asked candidates for sheriff. I'll ask you, you work with Wynn as mayor, how would you work with the new sheriff about trying to get the officers of Knox County up to the scale that they should be at in order to help retain the officers that we have and to help get officers coming in here and to help try to give them a pension other than a 401k that doesn't really do much at times for a job that we have.
Sure.
Some of us, myself, like Brent, we got that pension.
Yeah.
Okay.
Run the U-Op, yeah.
And it got taken away from all the other officers.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still supporting.
Ours is there.
Yeah, correct.
But for all the other officers, it is not.
Yeah.
what will you do to work with the sheriff to try to get something else like that implemented? So that it will help us retain officers, because we can't really go downtown and fight where all the homeless is at when we're answering all the calls out here.
No, I get it.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't have to convince me that
What
it's
will we do to
important.
retain?
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. I've been on, as commissioner, I've been on 9 ride-alongs, or ride and shift-alongs. One of those was in the jail. I know exactly what you do and how hard it is, and I have mad respect for everything that you all do every single day. It is the toughest job in Knox County, hands down. I would take 2 different approaches. The first with the new sheriff is I would sit down and say, what does the new sheriff's office look like? My guess is that the structure of the sheriff's office is fairly stuck in the last 40 years of how we've always done things, and modern policing and modern equipment and modern community patrols are completely different than how we've always done it. Everywhere, from how do you do corrections to how do you make sure you cover Farragut and Coreyton at the same time. And so the first thing I would do is say, what do you have and what do you really need, and how do we make sure that we optimize? Because you might have had 4 helicopters and that's been great for 40 years, but you could also have 40 drones today to help you do surveillance, and maybe you need 1 helicopter, things like that. How do you get to a modern day place? Because if you're spending money in one place, you're not spending in the other. So I would try to work really hard in the first year to sort of right size the sheriff's office for the modern day sheriff's office. The second thing I would do is go back and we as a community have to decide, what do we want to invest in and what do we want to do. We made a huge difference in the last structure. The mayor and sheriff were going to sue each other, and it was a big fight brewing. And a few of us, behind the scenes, we sat down, we talked to everybody, worked through it. We figured out we had 80-something vacancies in the sheriff's, in the corrections facility before we upped the pay. And now we are full pay, but it's not enough, and we've got to decide as a community, what do we want to invest in? I mean, I have this conversation every day. I've been the finance chair for 7 years, and we talk about what's coming on our debt crisis, we talk about our tax rate, we talk about our investment, what we're spending money on. It's about getting really diligent with the budget, and then also defining what you guys want to invest in. I mean, when Grundy County invests more in their company than Knox County, maybe our priorities aren't where they should be. So, there's no easy answer. It's about hard financial diligence and going through and every line item and making sure that we're also not spending our money on stuff that we shouldn't be spending money on in Knox County. There's only so many resources, and we've got to really focus on what we do. We only do 5 things. Knox County government it's a service company, it's a public service company, and you own it. And we only do 5 things for the citizen. We do education, that's the biggest part of our budget. We do public safety, we do infrastructure, we do health and wellness, and we do economic development. That's all we do, and they should be able to fit into those 5 buckets. And just because we've always done it doesn't mean we always have to do it. So people have asked me, we know we have a financial crisis coming up with our debt. We have a lot of needs from our sheriff's office to our schools to our infrastructure and highways. How are you going to solve it? One of my approaches would be to do a zero budget approach as the new mayor. Everybody realizes the current mayor passes this budget this year, and the next mayor lives under that budget for an entire, almost one legislative cycle. So when that process begins, when you're handcuffed a bit for a year, you can do a little bit, but not too much. But during that process, I would go to every single department, and I'm talking every single department, from Parks and Rec to the DA to engineering to the sheriff to the trustee, all the fee offices, and everything, and say everybody's budget starts at 0. I know that's scary, and everybody's a fiscal conservative until you touch your budget. Number 1 rule in county government. Everyone starts with 0, and you got to come and justify why you need what you need. And let's start from 0 and work our way up, because I think we do a lot of stuff, and we have a lot of people, and we do a lot of things that we've just done because it's been the same way for 30 years. We're just not at that. We have too much technology at our fingertips. We have too much opportunity with Knox County, and we've got to sort of rethink that budget under those 5 buckets. At that point, you got to sit back, you got to make a pitch, and you got to figure out what does his workforce need. I know that if we don't spend the money, we will spend more money, because every time he loses an officer like you, it costs twice as much to just get the next one back to them. And if we don't invest in our officers, they're going to leave, and it gets worse. And so I'm a big, from a budgeting and business standpoint, I'm a proactive thinker in that, what is the cost if I lose you, not what's the cost if I keep you. I'd rather think about that. So I'm, you get to work. I got a year to figure that out. And then we'll see what the world looks like. Yes, sir.
Traffic on I-40.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you recommend or support an electronic tolling lane in order to facilitate traffic?
I think the choice lanes are a good option if they would actually get on with it and do something, but watching the TDOT and the state do much is like watching glaciers grow. But I've seen it work in other major congested cities. I think the hardest part for us is we're congested. If you just look at a topographic map of East Tennessee, we have valleys. We're funneled into a valley. There's not a lot of room. I actually think one of the solutions, which I've been talking to Senator Massey about, I'm talking to the governor candidates about, is to go up, not go out. We have a straight line from Watt Road to Strawberry Plains with a median, and go to Houston. There's a pole up the middle with 2 express lanes on top, and if you want to get on in Farragut and pay $50 to get downtown and scoot on by everybody, why not? We own the median, we own the right of way, we own the middle, and I think we just have to think differently. So I have an idea for that, but it's about pushing and advocating. The state has to decide whether to do it and push the federal side as well. But it's a big lofty project that everybody's like, oh, it'll cost so much. How much does it cost if people stop investing here and stop coming here and stop living here? So a little different approach. Yes, sir. Joe.
You mentioned earlier, and I apologize because it was a while ago when you spoke, that the situation in terms of development and infrastructure kind of sneaking up on us. And as mayor, that you'd be most qualified to sort of navigate through that process. Here in Farragut, development right up against our borders is a major concern for our citizens. As someone who served on county commission during this time, what's the main difference in the roles that I would like to fix it after being elected mayor as opposed to doing something now while serving on commission?
Well, look, when you're mayor, you set the priorities based on the budget, and you direct you direct all kinds of departments, including engineering and public works. And so your priorities, as a commissioner, we can advocate, we do that through our budget process, and we can push, and we have constantly pushed for infrastructure projects, and I can name 100 of them for you that we've done in the last 8 years. But as the mayor, you are actually directing the engineering and public works department on this is where our priorities are. And we need a huge amount, we gotta catch up really fast. We are really, really behind, and we are living on sort of old country farm roads that, just happen to fill up overnight. And so we do need more roundabouts to keep people moving. I know some people don't like them, but I love them. They keep people moving. We need more turn lanes, and we have to redesign also. We have to push, as a mayor, we have to push the school system to think differently about how they have their infrastructure. I mean, our schools are still set up for everybody to ride the bus, okay? That doesn't happen as much anymore. And I love our bus drivers, and they're doing a great job, and some people ride the bus, but we have a lot of schools that people drive one kid in one car all at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And we have traffic between 7:30 and 9:30 and 4:30 and 6:30 because of it. We have to push them, but if you look at most schools, they have a lot of land. We've got to redesign the internal infrastructure to get that capacity off the main road, and that's an infrastructure project. If we can get the capacity off the main road, you don't have to back up the traffic. And I just think we have to prioritize that. I mean, right now I got a report this morning from engineering. Nearly half of every subdivision in Knox County has never been repaved since it was installed. We have subdivisions on a scale of 100 to 1. 100 I just got paved and 1 is a dirt road. We have tons of them that are in the 10s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. And it's just, at some point we got to prioritize this and get ahead of it. It's not hard, it's not sexy and it costs money, but the cost of, this is what I talk about with proactive approach to budgeting and management. If you repave a road at basic maintenance, how often that, 10, 15 years, and you keep up with it, it costs you one time. If you wait so long that it deteriorates so bad, it costs you 10 times just by neglecting it. You guys all have homes, you all have businesses. If you waited until if you ever looked at your HVAC unit until it died, and you never changed the filter, it would break and you would spend way more money. So we just have to prioritize that as a level, and I think the mayor can grab the vote on it.
I think we have time for maybe one more question.
And I'll stick around if you guys want to talk more too. Yes,
So
sir.
you're talking about zero budgeting police department.
Knox County does not really run the school system or have anything to do with their budget. Are you gonna try and bring it back under the umbrella of Knox County, or let them still be autonomous?
No, that's set by, that's set by law now, and it's a formula that's set by law. I think the two differences that the mayor can do, when it comes to budgeting and when it comes to the school system. First off, you have school board members. You ought to be in their ear every single day. They are responsible. They love to sort of, yell at us when they don't get what they want, but it's their budget, and they just move it over to us. And there's a lot of structural legal stuff that, this is the formula they get, and this is how they spend it. And so that's their priority. But I would say this, for a long, long time, anything that was extra in growth, like, they have a formula set for how their budget is funded. And everything that was extra growth, we gave it to them too. And I think we gotta shrink that back down and say, this is your formula, you gotta work within your budget, because the growth needs to go to the infrastructure. And then we have to prioritize, like, all the debt is on you all the school debt and the regular debt. And we have to prioritize when you do large capital projects, where are they gonna be, and how much are they gonna be, and being proactive. We inherited a lot of old broken city schools that are really old and really in rough shape. If anybody wants to see a perfect example of that, go on up, if you wanna see the one that's the worst, go up to Powell Elementary School right now. Sandwiched in a tiny place. Their kitchen is smaller than this kitchen. They feed all those kids, and the principal was a student when they put in the portables. I'm tired of kids living in double wides out back, guys. Come on, we can do better, but we gotta prioritize it, and we gotta decide that we wanna invest in it. And we gotta push them a little bit.
Yeah, they do the proportioning by population funds.
Yeah.
They didn't do it with the sheriff's department at the same time,
Yeah.
population.
Yeah.
And they should.
Look, I know we have big challenges. We're always gonna have big challenges. I would rather have a growing county than a dying county. And there's a lot of them in Tennessee. And I'd rather have an opportunity to lean into those and embrace them. And I know it's different, and I know it feels different, and I know there's a lot of people moving here. Look, we love people that come here, as long as you don't tell us how you did it there. Okay? We're all in, so. Listen, thank you very much. I'll stick around and talk.